Hi everyone. The purpose of this video is twofold. One, to present evidence which supports the position that there is power in lobbying. And two, to advise you that the government are currently engaged in a consultation period concerning the Equality Acts, the purpose of which is to consider whether any new grounds should be given protected status under the Equality Acts. This consultation comes at a pivotal time, considering the widespread discrimination being suffered by hundreds of thousands of people in this country every day, arising from the government's own policies. We intend to exploit this consultation period as much as possible and therefore intend to introduce a new campaign that we are hoping you will assist us with. In relation to the first matter of lobbying, you might recall that we published our first lobby campaign video on the 4th of April 2021. This campaign centred on the vote to extend the duration of the emergency powers legislation that took place on the 2nd of June 2021. In order to put the impact of this lobby campaign into perspective, we reviewed the voting records for all significant COVID-19 laws since March of 2020. On the screen you will note that we've included the date of the vote, how many yes and no votes were cast, and how many votes each piece of legislation was passed by. You will note that between the 26th of March 2020 and the 25th of February 2021, the difference between yes and no votes, meaning the amount of votes a piece of legislation was passed by, was between 28 votes and 120 votes, with the average difference between a piece of legislation passing or not being 59 votes. Prior to commencing our first lobby campaign, we carried out a thorough review of the voting records of all TDs in April of 2021 and set about asking people to target certain TDs whose votes we thought could be swayed or who we thought at the very least we could persuade not to turn up to the next vote, thereby reducing the government's majority voting position. With respect to the two major lobby campaigns we initiated, we managed to reduce the difference between yes and no votes to 5 and 6 votes. This was down from an average from all previous COVID-19 votes of 59 votes. This was a significant achievement and truly shows the impact that persistent lobbying can have. We were, of course, unhappy with the voting result in the same way that you were, because the laws were still passed and extended. That said, we did and continue to recognise the fact that persistent lobbying efforts make a significant difference. Next, we commenced a new lobby campaign in September 2021, this time around the extension of the vaccine passport laws. However, after receiving a great deal of backlash from people on our own side, we took a step back and relaxed any promotion of this campaign. The backlash we received was from people who were frustrated and angry that the previous lobby campaigns did not achieve the result that we or they wanted. This now brings me to the result from the lobby campaign where we eased our efforts. The results from this campaign illustrates that there was a difference in yes and no vote of 23 votes. The next vote that took place was just a couple of weeks ago, and you can see that the difference between yes and no votes continued to rise to 38 votes. So, to summarise, before you started lobbying the government persistently, the average number of votes between a yes and no vote was 59 votes. When you persistently lobbied the government, the difference between yes and no votes reduced to 5 and 6 votes. And when we eased our lobbying campaigns, the difference between yes and no votes increased to 23 votes. And when we completely abandoned our lobbying campaigns, this further increased to 38 votes. I really hope after considering these numbers you will agree that lobbying works, while also acknowledging that lobbying must be relentlessly persistent. I fully believe in the power of lobbying. That said, I also acknowledge that our task is not an easy one, but we must keep the pressure on the government in any way we can. For your information, we intend to commence a new lobby campaign around the extension of the vaccine passport laws, which is due to take place before the 9th of January 2022 in the coming weeks. In the meantime, I wish to bring another campaign to your attention. We have just become aware that in July of this year, the government launched a consultation period seeking the public's view on a review of the Equality Acts. So they are reviewing the Equal Status Acts and the Employment Equality Acts. This consultation period closes on the 29th of November 2021, so we do not have a great deal of time to coordinate an act. The Employment Equality Acts outlaw discrimination in a wide range of employment and employment-related areas. These include retention and promotion, equal pay, working conditions, training or experience, dismissal and harassment including sexual harassment. while the Equal Status Acts prohibit discrimination in the provision of goods and services, accommodation and education. The Equality Acts define discrimination as treating one person in a less favourable way than another person. There are currently 9 grounds for discrimination, including gender, civil status, family status, sexual orientation, religion, age, disability, race and membership of the travelling community. The government have established this consultation as they wish to explore the possibility of adding new protected grounds to the Equality Acts, such as a socio-economic ground and gender identity. They state that this review will also examine the functioning of the Acts and their effectiveness in combating discrimination and promoting equality. It will also include a review of the current definitions, including in relation to disability. The review is also said to provide an opportunity to review other areas arising, including whether or not further additional equality grounds should be added, whether existing exemptions should be removed or modified. The ICHR are aware that a great many of the public have suffered discrimination, both in the employment context and also in accessing goods and services, such as entering shops, restaurants, cafes, concerts, schooling events, etc., arising from the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly in relation to the refusal by shops, etc., to respect face covering exemptions and also due to their health or immunisation status. It appears to the ICHR that although this consultation is intended in particular to introduce a new protected ground of gender identity, it would be more applicable for the government to concentrate on combating the widespread discrimination being suffered by hundreds of thousands of people in this country as a direct result of their policy prescriptions, such as the introduction of vaccine passports. In order to evidence the level of suffering endured and the effects of same on members of the public as a direct result of this government's actions, we are asking that members of the public complete a questionnaire which the ICHR have created, such that the ICHR can make a submission to the government before the 29th of November 2021, which is intended to press upon the government to introduce a new protected ground of health or immunisation status into the Equality Acts. The findings from this campaign will also be used in subsequent lobby campaigns concerning any further extension of the vaccine passport laws in Ireland. The more responses we receive to this survey, the more impact it will have, both in terms of our submission to the government before the 29th of November and also in relation to utilising the information in any future lobby campaigns. As stated at the start of this video, I believe lobbying works, but we need to be persistent and we need to keep thinking up new ways to lobby and apply pressure. This survey and subsequent submission to the government is one such way, so we ask you to please support this campaign and share it widely. For your information, we will also be releasing another lobby campaign in a week's time, which will focus on compiling a list of businesses and venues who are introducing vaccine passports without legal mandate. We will also be setting up an email circulation list whereby we will notify all those on the circulation list of businesses and venues who have been added to the list and also provide template letters for all those on the circulation list such that they can lobby those businesses directly. We ask you to please watch out for this campaign as its success will be dependent on the number of people willing to add their names to the circulation list and commit thereafter to issuing the template letters to the businesses and venues identified. It's fair to say that in the past number of weeks we have seen some businesses and venues who were intent on introducing vaccine passports roll back due to public backlash and lobbying. We know this can work, but we need to be persistent and we need to elicit large numbers of the public to engage with these campaigns, as the amount of pressure these businesses and venues come under directly affects the outcome. Please click on the link in the description box of this video to complete the Discrimination and COVID-19 survey prepared by the ICHR, and please share this survey widely. Finally, we need all responses back inside 1 week in order that we have 1 full week to prepare our submission to the government. Thanks for your support and thanks for listening.